I think it's working. Thank you very much. So welcome to Winter 2022. Happy New Year, everybody. I know everyone's been scrambling with the adaptation of remote learning. I hope everyone is safe and healthy. I'm Wesley Hara. I'm the Engineering Transfer Center Director. I also help the Associate Deans with student organization stuff. So I'm going to be reporting on some of that in my presentation. I want to start off with things from the Engineering Transfer Center. So this is just a request for our student organizations to save the date for our Discover UCLA Engineering for Transfers event. Campus has announced the Bruin and Transfer Bruin days, and they're making an effort for that to be in person. We're going to have to kind of keep an eye on that as we progress. But the Discover UCLA Engineering for Transfers day coincides with Transfer Bruin Day, which is going to be Saturday, May 14th. We're going to be looking for participants for the org fair, and then also to identify some speakers to share your experiences with the admitted students. I know in winter, many of the organizations are going to be hosting their elections. This is just a call again, and several of you have already done this, but consider creating a transfer officer position. I've provided a few bullets on what I think that a transfer officer could do. I mean, first and foremost, to gain the pulse of the transfer community within your organizations. It was just brought to my attention that one of our professional engineering organizations has no transfer students in it. And so that's kind of a real good sort of, challenge or problem to look at. But also to provide a transfer welcoming environment and activities for our transfer students to connect with your community, as well as a professional, community of alum that move off into the world and become professional engineers. An example of this welcoming event, ACM pulled together a transfer panel to really help our computer science transfer students to understand and navigate, the remaining 2 years that they're here at UCLA Engineering. Also, tutoring classroom support for first-year transfers is very, very much needed. I also would like to see if our professional organizations can help me to collect information, from transfers on their experiences within their specific major. A couple of other things that we're working on, ASME and SOLAS put together the UCLA roadshows, where we're going out to local community colleges to talk to students further down the pipeline about the excitement of engineering, the coolness of UCLA engineering, and what it might mean to earn a degree from UCLA engineering, for life after graduation. And so, we could use organizations to help with that, or to help identify speakers for those events. IEEE put together a pre-ops workshops. They're basically circuits workshops that we're taking over to El Camino. So these are ideas of things that a transfer officer could be, responsible for or help to develop. The final thing is, if you have any announcements that you want to reach out to transfer students, just a reminder that we can send that out in our weekly email blast, and you can email the center if you have any of those. Okay. An update on the winter quarter student org fair. We've been sort of in a holding pattern and trying to make some hard decisions. We were really hoping to be able to maintain the in-person event, but due to the remote learning order, we are going to make this a virtual event. Boo, sorry. But we think it's important for us to move forward on this because, we're moving on to week 3 of the quarter, and we want to make sure that information about your activities are being disseminated to the student body. Okay, so important to note, again, this is being co-hosted from ESAC, the ILC, undergraduate internship program, as well as the transfer center. And really it started as a grassroots initiative because our transfer students have half the time to connect with your wonderful communities. But it's proven to be a really great avenue for our student organizations to share what's going on in winter quarter. If you're like me, changes in plans happen in fall quarter, and so this is a good opportunity, particularly being that we're, in a virtual environment now, to connect with the student body with regards to what your winter quarter activities and opportunities are. So these are you'll see on the slide, these are the organizations that have already registered to participate in the fair. An email has been sent out to you with instructions on what we need and what the next steps are. And we're going to ask you to please respond to that and submit your information to the Google form that was provided in that email. If you did not receive an email, or if you're interested in participating and you did not register, please contact the undergraduate internship program as soon as possible and no later than Tuesday, because we need to get your information onto the event website. Okay, I'm going to try to get through my slides, and then I'll stick around at the end of the meeting to answer any questions on these. So if you do have questions, just make sure to put it in the chat or jot it down. Some friendly reminders to the student organizations: we are in remote learning, and there are some policies governing taking items from campus to allow you to continue with work remotely, as well as accessing your office during remote learning. And so I've provided these links in the slide, and I think Eureka will provide it to you in the minutes to this meeting, okay? We also wanted to remind everyone that we do have a student leaders guide website, and we're gonna populate that with new information as it comes. And so please utilize that as a resource. Also, the Lab and Space Safety website, just a friendly quarterly reminder that as student leaders, you should be taking a moment to look at reducing hazards in any of your activities that could potentially cause an accident. And in the current climate, also the spread of COVID-19, right? And so please make sure that you're taking a moment to refresh your mind on these kinds of things, as well as become current on what's the current existing campus policies. One final thing about reminders: please know that we're here to help. If you're having difficulty, particularly in these next weeks with things like booking a room or gaining access to facilities, I'm throwing Eureka's name out there. Sorry, Eureka. But as ESUC president, she can help with that, as well as myself. Okay, and so we'll work with Associate Dean Wessel to try to find a solution to the challenge that you're facing. Okay, a couple of things. Engineering faculty advisors. In the fall, we had asked the student organizations to identify your faculty advisor. We got a response with Orlando Luna's name. He's not a faculty, nor is he in School of Engineering. And so I want to thank all of the organizations that responded to our call to try to identify your engineering faculty advisor. We've put that into a spreadsheet, and we'd like you to verify that the name of your faculty advisor is correct. Verify if your organization is there, right? And if we don't know your engineering faculty advisor, to please provide us with that information. And if you're having difficulty identifying an engineering faculty advisor, to let us know, okay? There's a couple of processes that got held up because we needed to know your engineering faculty advisor. And that's the EH&S safety inspections. And so if you are an organization that uses tools, machinery, chemicals, please work with Eureka and I. EH&S is now trying to schedule the walkthroughs of, physical walkthroughs of your space. And so we'd like to get you on their calendar. So please do reach out. And again, these are going to be inspections that will have to happen after we're back in person, okay? In addition to that, we asked all of you to get your lab and space safety forms signed. I suspect that some of you may had difficulty getting this form signed because you didn't have an engineering faculty advisor. I've provided a listing of all the organizations that I received safety forms from. If you do not see your organization here, please work on that. A copy of the form is on the slide, as well as where to submit that. Okay, many of you have been waiting for this. It's the Student Creativity Space Use application. We're combining things this year, and we're encouraging any organization who doesn't have physical space on campus, who would like physical space in the school, to apply for space use, okay? And applications are now open, and the URL to the application form is on this slide. The deadline to submit applications for space use is Monday, February 21st, okay? Again, to reiterate, all organizations who don't have space that want to have space should apply, and all student organizations who are occupying space in the Student Creativity Center need to reapply, okay? Once we get the applications, we will convene a faculty review committee and to look at the space needs of our orgs, and then to announce space allocations or awards in spring of 2022. Okay. Just a quick note for Student Creativity Center space, it really is designated for technical design work, and will give priority to organizations who are engaging in that kind of activity. Okay. There's a lot to go over with this, and I am assuming that many of you guys have questions, which we don't have time for here. So I'm going to be hosting an info session on Thursday, January 20th from 5:30 to 6:30. You do need to attend if you want to apply, because we're going to be covering information about the materials and how to submit, and answering any questions that you might have. Okay, you do need to register for the info session. We won't be recording that. So you do need to send a representative, okay? Some of you may be wondering what the Student Creativity Center is. And so I wanted to provide a slide on it. It's a facility on the second floor of Bolter Hall that's adjacent to the Innovation Lab Makerspace. We opened its doors in 2012 as a technological sandbox where our community could create, design, build, disassemble, and re-engineering devices and gadgets of our own imagination. And so there's 13 rooms there, 2 meeting spaces, and a multi-purpose work event space, as well as storage, okay? Some rooms have larger access doors, sinks, and workspaces, okay? Current tenants are listed here, but to give you an idea of what the Student Creativity Center is, its purpose, location, and who is currently living there. Okay, the next thing that I want to share is information about something that we're trying to resurrect but improve. And through the year, there's been a call for information from the student organizations many times through the year, with varying degrees of success in being able to provide that information, and also with regard to the ease of providing that information. And so we've been looking at avenues to be able to collect information from the student organizations. And really the goal of this is to be able to get a snapshot of what you all are doing, right? The impact that you're making, the outcomes of your activities, and also to understand what your needs are and what the directions that you'd like to grow in, right? But with the goal of being able to better support all of you, but also be able to communicate this information to our donors, alumni, industry partners, on what cool things you guys are doing and the accomplishments that you're making, okay? The other goal of this forum is to make it easier. As I mentioned, there's been a number of processes that we've asked the student organizations to work on, things like, creating the contact list, affiliating with the school, tracking use of donated funds. We also are going to be utilizing this annual report as, your application to the Student Org of the Year competition. So the idea is to streamline sort of the, number of things that we're asking of the organizations, to accomplish all of these different things. And so, another way to look at this is maybe perhaps how we're going to be using some of this information. And so the first 2, contact lists, right, and generating a robust contact list to make sure we're communicating with all of our organizations, making sure that you guys can communicate with each other, and then putting people who are interested to learn more about you in touch with you, right? We want to get information that's going to help populate the school's website, on the student organizations page, with current information about all of you and how to get in touch with you. We certainly want to be able to share, all your your noteworthy news or your accomplishments, awards that you've won in competitions. And then, there's parts of this where, like I said, we're going to use in evaluating for the Engineering Student Org of the Year competition. The annual report could aid in your knowledge transfer to new officers. And so this is a document that will contain information that will make it easier for you to share, what has been done with your new officer board. And then certainly to be able to communicate again, right, with donors and industry partners about the cool things that you're doing, Frequently, a donor might be interested in specific activities or specific organization, and it's really helpful to have some information on what's currently going on and what your current needs are when we're talking to them. I think with regard to alumni and industry relationships, it's kind of a pointer also to the awkward conversation when, an industry partner or an alum kind of talks about their involvement with the student organization and we're unaware of that, right? And so the annual report, again, will provide us with an annual snapshot of what it is that you're doing so that we can better communicate, with our broader community, okay? So with regards to the annual report, we're currently working on refining this and then developing an online tool to manage the submissions. We're with the hope of being able to release the form at the spring 2022 student leaders meeting and asking organizations to submit their report by week 7 or 8 of the spring quarter in time so that we can evaluate them for the Student Org of the Year competition, okay? We're asking all UCLA engineering affiliated organizations to submit this annual report, and we're asking that the president or team lead is the person who hits the submit button on the form just to make sure everything is accurate on that report. Okay, what you can do now is to start collecting information about your organization and its activities and put it in one place. Encourage your project teams to start collecting that information as well. And then this is not this is the current items that we're looking to collect information on. But again, as I mentioned, we're refining, what these are all going to be. But to give you an idea of the things that you might want to start thinking about and they're collecting data on. Okay. So that's all I have. And I will stick around to the end to answer any questions.